Okay, as promised, I'm going to describe how I use Blue Sky. So open Blue Sky, and when you open Blue Sky, it will give you different options. Most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, I'm going to select surgical guide. I'm not proficient on orthodontist, crown bridge using this software. So I click surgical guides, and then I'm going to import patient CT scan. That is pretty much the DICOM. And you're going to locate where that DICOM is. In this case, let me see here. This is one of the cases we did on the fellowship. And it's Blanca Guzman. I'm going to select DICOM over here, and it's going to import me the files. Usually it's going to show you this screen. Just click OK. Then it's going to read all the files, and you can set the field of view right here on these boxes, the yellow boxes, but I keep it the same all the time. So as a default, it's going to prompt you to go to import different models. If you have models to import, usually close this. And also on the upper right side, it's kind of a feature that is automatic, so I kind of follow through, but I like to do everything manual. You can try to continue to implement planning to see what happened, but I usually go manual. So I'm going to go ahead, and things that I watch for is on module up here. You want to make sure that you're working on the advanced module. When you click advanced, you're going to see on the right hand side right here different what I call panels, or they call panels. And those panels, you can set it up here on the top left side menu where it says panel. So this is going to give you the implant list, nerve list, tooth list, model manipulation. The ones that you're going to use most, it's going to be model manipulation, guide fabrication, tooth, nerve, implant list, surfaces. Those are the ones that I use mostly. Okay, so all of them are listed over here on this side, and then on top you're gonna have different tools over here that I use mostly. I use all these tools. How you set them up, you go to view, and then on tools, toolbar, you set all these toolbars over here that I have listed over here. Sometimes the perspective, I usually keep it on implant tangential 3 or 5. So those are the settings that I usually do. Now, one of the first thing that I do is on the rendering. What I do is, if you have a lot of crowns, you have to set with this lower bar. You have to set the threshold of that CT scan. What I usually do is I try to set it up that there is not that much distortion. So also another tool that you use all the time is on each of these windows on top, on the right hand corner, it says maximize. So it has kind of sub menus that you can scroll down and see what they do. I use maximize so I can see it in one screen only. And then I try to set the threshold just that it doesn't have any distortion. If I go here, there is a lot of distortion. So I set it that I can see the teeth, mostly the teeth, intact. So it's easier when I have to merge the files. Another thing is, see how I usually tell you guys to keep cotton roll in between the teeth, or gauze, so keep the teeth apart, because that plays a huge role on merging the files. So we're gonna do implant number 12. I'm gonna minimize this window. The center window here on the top, what you do is, if you're working on the maxilla, so you scroll up, you go to the crest of bone, and this point, this square looking features, you can go hold it and drag it. You drag it, so you align the jaw, you align the occlusal view. So as you're seeing here on the panel, so everything is aligned. Another thing that you can do is you can grab this square, you can move up and down the whole field. So this is how I set it up. Then you have these three lines. These three lines correspond to this window on the left hand side. This green line is rotation within the view, which is the right window. If I go here, see how the right window rotates. Okay, so I'm going to set it up first. I'm going to set it up to, well, I'm going to import the model because I have an STL model that we took on the maxilla from an intraoral scan. Two ways that you can import that is you go to File, and then you click Import. Click Import STL Model. It'll prompt you to go to this window, and then, or you can open your browser or whatever you have your directory, and usually I like to do it this way. And I'm going to go ahead and locate again that model on the files here. Okay, I'm looking on the wrong place. Let's go here. Implant Fellowship, Cases, Blanca Guzman, and then here it is, upper jaw. I click it and I drag it to the lower left window, and it'll automatically open that up, and it'll ask you if it is a maxilla or mandible. Most of the time it merges it all together, all at once, automatic. So let's see what happens. When you have the mouth open, it's easier to match it perfectly. If it doesn't match it, I'm going to show you how I do that. So it did match it perfectly. You can see the green. How you know is you maximize the upper left window, and then you see the outline of the model. So as I scroll up and down, it follows exactly the symmetry of the teeth, and you can see how even follows on the palatal side right here. It follows that. So if I click over here, I take that center line out, but I usually keep it all the time there. So let's suppose that the model, I'm on model manipulation now on the panels here, and I'm gonna go ahead and click manual so I can drag it out of position. Okay, so it's out of position now. This is just for an example, and I'm gonna click here to by points. You align the model, upper model. You have to select the model, the surface that you're dealing with. Sometimes you have multiple surface, so I click it here, and I go to points, and it's gonna start kind of calculating, and it's gonna open another window. So as I said, it's better to have a PC or to have a mouse that have both of the button and the circle in the middle. So it opened these two windows. So by clicking on the middle button of the mouse or the circle, you can go up and down, and you can move it all the way around. The same thing with the render. So what I do now, I rotate by clicking on the left button of the mouse, and you have to put points that are references. What you do is you hit shift on your keyboard, keep shift down, and you click in exact positions that are replica on both sides. So you can undo the shift, rotate the model, and do the same thing. Usually they ask you to do 4 or 5 different reference point, and you can select whatever you want. Okay, so it has to be the same. So by selecting all this, I'm gonna click OK, and we'll see how it merges it. So that's how you merge it when the computer does not merge it automatically. So I'm gonna see again how everything looks pretty good. So that's how you merge a model. Okay, when you have crowns, it's a little bit more difficult. So that's why you have to set this threshold a little bit better, so that you don't have too much scatter, that you can see at least some points that you can merge everything together. You can also see here on the middle window how everything is following the outline of the restorations or the crowns, so you know the merge is properly done. Okay, so now I'm going to do a virtual wax up because I don't have a tooth in here. So what I do is I go to the area where we're placing the implant, and the implant we're going to place on number 12 area. You can either move your scroll over here until these reference points planes match the tooth that you're going to be working with, or you can click on this occlusal view, click right on top of where you want those fields to go. So I'm right here, you can see I'm on the number 12 area, so I have everything centered there. So by adding a tooth, is what you do is you're going to select the tooth up here, and then it's going to open this window. It's going to give you different sizes of teeth. Usually I keep it on medium or large depending on the case. So it's going to be number 12, and I'm going to click OK. Okay, by clicking OK, you see how the cursor changed to a cross. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it right here. You see how I drop the tooth right here. And then what I do is I maximize again the rendering window, and if you go to the panels on the right hand side, you go to surfaces. So on surfaces, you have the green that is the upper model, and you have the CT surface that is actually the rendering of the job. So you can visibility, you can undo it, and it's going to disappear temporarily as you want, and then now you have only the tooth and the model that you can do a virtual wax up. If you put the cursor right on top, it's going to show the different planes where you can move it. If you click right on the tooth, you can move everything as a whole. And it's kind of tricky in the beginning how to use it, but it is very useful. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is also, since this tooth is a little bit larger, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the sphere over here, expand it buccolingually, and expand it mesodistally, and now I can start positioning the tooth. I can rotate by hitting on the plane here, and then I can kind of do a very quick wax up. Okay, I'm going to extend it a little bit more lingually, okay, and I'm going to extend it a little bit more mesially. I'm going to leave this space that she has on the contralateral side. Doesn't have to be perfect, just a reference point. So this looks pretty good to have it right there. You can rotate it a little bit, okay? Looks pretty good, okay? So very important when you put the tooth and you're putting several teeth, you go to the panel over here that says tooth list, and you put a lock on it, okay? Make sure you always put a lock on it, because then if you have multiple, you can drag or move something that you don't want to move. Same situation with an implant, okay? So I've placed my tooth in there. I'm going to minimize the screen, and now I'm going to place my implant. So my implant, I go to the implant, and it's going to open all these different, this is a Blue Sky library, but it has several libraries with the implants that you're going to be using. So let's say Astra is not here as a library, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave it on Blue Sky, but you can see that they have a compatible, because they produce their own implants. They're gonna have compatible with Astra right here, okay? compatible with Astra. There is another one somewhere here that is Astra, so it shows the different diameters. So I'm gonna put a 4 millimeter. I'm gonna estimate a 4 millimeter by 13 probably. So 4 by 13. I'm gonna click OK. The same thing. It's gonna show across where my cursor is. I'm gonna drop my implant right on top of the tooth. Okay. So after I have that, what I do is maximize this window. You can, if you want, you can kind of disappear the plane over here, reference plane, so it's easier to see. And I'm gonna start moving my implant. This is kind of a tricky case because of the concavity right here. So I'm gonna start moving my implant. And if you see the projection of the screw access hole, how it's coming out on the occlusal, but I'm still perforating here. So I might choose now to change it, right click, change it, and I'm gonna replace it by an 11 because I don't wanna go too long because I'm gonna create a problem with the defect there unless I graft. So I'm gonna incline it just a tiny bit more. I'm gonna distalize it. Remember the bone that we're keeping on the facial. And then I'm satisfied now with this position over here. And now if you see the profile, the gum is here, the profile. So I'm gonna sink that implant a little bit more. And I'm gonna even incline it a tiny bit more so I don't perforate. So now imagine that your abutment is coming this way. And if you wanna measure, you go to the ruler up here and you measure about what depth are we sinking this implant. And this implant is gonna be 2.74, so I wanna go a little bit more. You have to undo the ruler. I'm gonna do a little bit more to sink it. I'm gonna delete this by right click, and I'm gonna measure one more time. I'm gonna measure how much I'm sinking the implant now, and we're 4.38. We're probably good. I'm gonna delete it. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to drop it occlusally a tiny bit until you find the satisfied position. Okay, so you minimize this window. And I usually like to go back and put the planes so I can see all the planes up here. And now I want to see on my rotation window right here, that is this green line. I'm going to go ahead and see and tweak a little bit. I'm a little bit too close to the canine. I'm gonna distalize it. And I'm gonna rotate it a little bit so I'm away from that wall. Okay, that distal of the canine. So after I position that in there, I want to make sure that my implant is coming out in the right position, which it is. And what I do is same thing that I did with the tooth is I go to implant list of up here and I lock it. Okay, I lock it. So after I lock it, now what I need to do is create. I'm going to do a pilot. I'm going to do a fully guided. In this case, we're going to do a pilot. So right here on the implant panel, implant list, down here you have guide tubes. So usually a pilot for 2.2, the guide hole diameter is gonna be 3.35, okay? And that's what it's gonna be. And then you have to select right here that you wanna see the tube. See how the tube shows up? Okay, so I'm gonna select the tube, and now one thing is it shows this stopper, the green stopper. I usually don't keep it, and I'll show you how to remove it. So I'm gonna have the tooth disappear so I can visualize better. Sometimes it's kind of tricky, sometimes you have to delete it. If you have only one, if you have multiple, it's easy to undo it right here. So let's see if yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and delete it. Okay, so now you see the tube right here. So what you're seeing open over here is actually the diameter, and this is a protection of the plastic. And then if you see there is a space, there's plenty of space to slide a tube right here. There's plenty of space on the lateral side of the teeth. So you have the stopper. So now I'm going to fabricate the surgical guide. How I fabricate the surgical guide is, number one, first my tube is too shallow, okay? It's going inside of the socket, so I'm gonna raise it up. How you raise it up, you go to the implant list one more time, and if you see this offset over here, you start moving that offset. It's gonna give you an error message, just say disregard it, because it's only a guiding tube. And you start, see how it comes up like this, and it goes down, okay? So imagine that you extracted the tooth, the root is not there anymore, so this is a good height. And after you set that up, what you do is now is have to fabricate the guide. How do you fabricate the guide? Is you go to guide panel right here, and on the guide panel, it's gonna give you all these options. Right here, built-in drill stop, you want to see this green disappear. We don't need it, okay? You don't need it because we're not using Blue Sky Bio system. So I have it disappearing there. And now what we do is, in order to mark the outline, usually I like to have a couple, 2 or 3 teeth on each side. How you draw the outline is, first you select here maxilla, draw a curve. You draw a curve, and now by clicking shift, you start leave the shift key down. You start marking. You start marking where you want your guide to go. Usually I want to wrap it a little bit more gingivally on the implant, and then I come up. You can undo that shift, and then you do it again. You rotate the model. I'm going, see how it kind of gave me that error right here? Is because it read, let me see if I can untangle. Let me see if I can untangle this. This is a good mistake. So let's see where it went. So sometimes it's tricky if it has a hole on the model, that it recognizes the hole, it mess everything up. I'm gonna delete it. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to guide fabrication, and I'm gonna delete everything that I've done. I'm gonna click again, draw a curve. Let's see here where clear curve. I'm gonna draw a new curve. So shift 1, 2, 3. I keep going here. What I'm gonna do is, since it gave me that error there, I'm gonna keep going down here, and then I wrap it around the central, rotate, and I keep wrapping around. I rotate, I keep wrapping around this area. So try not to hit where there is no surface, because it's gonna mess up the line. So I keep going, and then until I reach the other point, which I did. Now you can undo shift, and you can manipulate however you want each point. Okay, I don't want this to be so low, so I start manipulating this right here, and now I have the outline of my guide. So by clicking create surgical guide, it's gonna give you that surgical guide. It's gonna open this window. Once again, we're not using Astra, so I'm gonna put save. Oops, I hope it doesn't crash. This is a very stable software, very complete software. I love it. I'm using another software as well that is called Nemotech. This is a very stable free software that you only pay for to export. So this is a guide that you fabricated. You can put the name on it if you want. What I do is I go here to text, and I put Guzman, and you have to line it up and maximize it where you want it, right there. And then you click apply text and kind of engrave the name of the patient right in there. So after you've done the surgical guide, what you do is you have to export or save. You can do either save surgical guide. It'll ask you if you don't have licenses. It costs like for 6 licenses, $125. So it's like $20 a pop. You can buy it. Sometimes I buy it in packages of 20, 50s, give you a better price. So that's how you export, or you can go here and you say export data. When you say export data, it's going to tell you exactly the same thing, but that's how you export the STL, and then you can print it. I hope this tutorial helps on planning single cases. I'll make sure that I upload the complete ledger. You have a good day.